Cross-cultural interaction never goes out of fashion. It started with Rome, but it wasn't alone. The Renaissance came and then we have the Reformation. Gutenberg spread information. Spain has aspirations during the Age of Exploration, then the Age of Enlightenment. Philosophy fighting for it. France, Russia, and England flooding culture for a living.
Let's start off here with Rome, when 476 people lost their home. How did this happen, you may wonder? Well, here's how the Romans totally blundered. They're an overextended military machine, so bad for sure they should have seen. The cost was also just too much in the Western wars. The constable done, money to touch. Soon a feudal contract was formed between the peasants and the wealthy. On their owners' land, pens were dormed, saying, I will work to the best of my ability. They slave away, providing labor and food. All they got in return was protection. Rude. Oh, and the government, what happened there? Well, the church felt the power void, so much despair. The Pope ruled the land and had some problems, like crusades and plague, they couldn't solve them. But don't you fret, because the Renaissance follows. You see those who survive the plague, who have more food to swallow. They have more research to use for literature and art. They started the Renaissance, they did their part. When Constantine fell, all the scholars went west. They brought ancient texts and philosophies. The Italians were impressed. These scholars started resting on values like individual and humanism. They sucked knowledge in like vacuums and thought with skepticism. And then there was Al-Andalus and the Muslims. Banking and trading was their thing. They were in the golden age. Change goes cling, 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 cling. And when trading with Italy, you couldn't miss them. They brought new ideas grittily. They created banking system. Gutenberg brought the printing press to Europe, which spread religious ideas without a preacher. The Crusades never looked up, so the church just sank deeper.
So let's look at the Renaissance. It started in Italy because of the possible no Muslim traders brought goods, so they didn't just get lost, huh? And we can't forget how the plague affected Italy. It passed them before anyone else. This allowed people to have the ability to be creative in their health. Italy was a city-state shower. Individual regions was one central power. If you want ideas, no need to scour. The rise of diplomacy also happened at this hour. The government system was no longer sour, and rulers weren't one to cower. And Greek and Roman texts from scholars were always received with hollers. The Renaissance is known for its art, and urban centers really contributed to this. Merchants invested money in trading pens so they could have literature, art, and ideas. Artists created new painting techniques like perspective, chiaroscuro, contrapposto, and sfumato. Now painting took weeks. Geez, I really want a tomato. People also started thinking about government. Machiavelli is an example. He believed rulers should rule cruelty, deception, and torment. His book The Prince gives people no power and rule and ample. Gutenberg's printing press lets everyone have a Bible. People learn their faith while needing priests for survival. This led to secularism from the arts we see. People wanted to think, learn, and be free. The Renaissance was nothing like the Middle Ages. Instead, people focused on humanism on different stages. People also studied humans as individuals and made their life more about humans, or else the book called. They valued education as well as innovation. You'd hear the pitter-patter as they climbed up Maslow's ladder. The Renaissance left some lasting changes like artistic ideas and economic arrangements.
Now we go to the Reformation. Corruption all came from the church's temptations. Indulgence, simony, and many more. This could have led to the state of war. Indulgence buy you into heaven, and simony and church position selling. A shout out to Jan Hus in Bohemia. The Roshi was quite mean to ya. He got burned at the stake. After Wycliffe, into English did the Bible translate. Then the 95 Theses came from Martin Luther. The church tried to hurt him, but he was a trooper. Now the power shifted from church to state, and the Diet of Worms determined Luther's fate. Now here's John Calvin come in the mix. He thought predestination wasn't just a trick. France and Spain remained strongly Catholic, while England thought Anglican was fantastic. Germany switched to Lutheran stronghold, and Switzerland thought Calvinism was much more bold. Now fast forward a little bit, Catholics and Protestants will throw in a fit. Eventually the RCC learns its lesson, and the Counter-Reformation can't help but happen.
Next we have the Age of Exploration. All the gold in Spain led to inflation. They sailed for the glory that came with it, did it for God, made them never quit. One of the big dangers was not having a navigator. This led them to invent new tech, never even taking a rain check. Germs, guns, and steel all traveled the triangle trade route, not the wheel. Lack of communication, guns and horses, left out of Puebla without any forces. Slavery in Africa during exploration differed from the standard American plantation. Food, animals, plants, and disease. The Columbian exchange wasn't a breeze. Like Vasco da Balboa crossing the Panama, and Magellan sailing the world without withdrawal.
Here comes France not giving Protestants a chance. 1559, King Henry Valois dies from a lance. His three sons take the throne. They have Catherine de' Medici as a regent at home. Three families fighting for power of different religions. The Valois and Guise are Catholic living. But the Bourbons embrace being Huguenot, which is just a fancy word for French Protestant. Catherine says she'll marry her daughter to Henry Bourbon, but secretly she makes plans with Guise that are quite disturbing. The St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre is what willed. The Catholic left many Huguenots killed. This event made the Pope feel prouder. After all, he always wanted to have more power. Eventually, Henry III lies on his deathbed. Henry Bourbon wins the throne. Paris is worth a mass is what he said. Henry Bourbon is called Henry IV. No hate, don't believe me, be careful. People thought he was pretty great. Remember that people were divided into 3 estates. Only the poorest ones ever had to pay, and king reporting tenants would never play. This increased absolutism every day. Henry created the Edict of Nantes, which gave some power to Protestants. He strengthened the government and military too. After his death, his wife appoints Richelieu. He is the eyes and ears of the king. He likes absolutism to always win. Then comes Louis VIII, who ritually helped out. Eventually came Mazarin, who helped Louis XIV. He shut down the Fronde Revolt, kept Marat from Louis. The Sun King moved his kingdom to Versailles because the nobles made him hate Paris. L'état-c'est-moi, he would argue, until he dies. Colbert made sure his money was taken care of, absolutely united people, which is always okay, but it also didn't have politics, which is not a fun form.
Now let's take a look at Russia, because we aren't in a rush now. They had boyars as the noble class. These nobles had a lot of sass, and there was a large peasant population. They were technically free but never got a vacation. One of their Caesars in the capital of Muscovy was Ivan the Terrible. His reign from 1533 to 84 was quite deplorable. He came to power through force and of divine right to rule he searched. He built St. Basil's to honor his Eastern Orthodox religion, but only got land in Kazan and Astrakhan. He also focused on political reorganization. Ivan also had some troubles in his head. The Great Novgorod Massacre left many people dead. He also never had an heir. He killed his son, and his grandson didn't fare. Peter the Great had new ideas. He ruled from 1696 to 1725. He thought Western Europeans were living the good life. His grand embassy researched which new Western developments had appeared. When he came back, he enforced these ideas, with libraries and newspapers, ships, and an outlaw on beards. He built St. Petersburg as Russia's window to the west, but never got the warm water port of his request. Finally paid off when Catherine came into power. Her husband died mysteriously. I guess how? She thought all people were born equal, but still never let the serfs really eat well. She finally got a warm water port by expanding to the south. What a good sport.
Cross-cultural interaction, it never was out of fashion. It started with Rome, there wasn't alone, the Renaissance came flashing. Then rather the Reformation, Gutenberg started information. Spain has aspirations during the age of exploration. Then the age of enlightenment, philosophy fight for it. France, Russia, and England spelled culture for a living.
Putting limits on the king, the Magna Carta created in 1215. Now we go to York versus Lancaster in the War of Roses. Henry VII wins and becomes king with his Tudor household. He has 2 sons, but only Henry VIII becomes king. Henry VIII found getting heirs wasn't working, so he left the RCC and became Anglican. He had 6 wives and only 1 lived after him. The Act of Supremacy made him the king of the English Church. After Edward and Mary ruled, Elizabeth repeated this, making the Pope lurch. The Act of Succession made it go Edward, Mary, Elizabeth, but Anglican, Catholic, and Anglican wasn't worth it. Now Elizabeth I, ruler of England, never married. Parliament didn't know what she was thinking. Acted like a man, but wasn't always respected like one. Showed her ruling skills before she was done. Unlike her Catholic sister Mary I, ignoring Philip II caused him an outburst. Mary, Queen of Scots, sending letters from jail, helped the Netherlands, paid their bail. She didn't want to lose money from not selling woolens, but she knew if she didn't help, Spain was coming for England. Took over the Spanish Armada, making England the most powerful in the world. It wasn't Nevada. Sea Dog Sir Francis Drake, taking all their pearls.
During the scientific revolution, people entered the Enlightenment, guided by their judgment they solved through experimentation rather than religion or the ancient, like Aristotle. This idea was derived by René Descartes, who knew the scientific method. I think, therefore I am, was his motto in his jam. People no longer thought the world revolved around them, you see, because of something called heliocentric theory. It described that the Earth went around the sun, which explained how the solar system spun. Oh, and there's also John Locke, who wanted prosperity. His ideas inspired of life, liberty, and property. He's the complete opposite of Thomas Hobbes, who thought people were naturally greedy. Title spoke about a monster in the sea heap. Baron de Montesquieu believed society would be led askew. The separation of power made sure we were better at each hour.
Cross-cultural interaction caused a chain reaction. Rome, Renaissance, Reformation, this all led to exploration. Russia, England, France made culture advance. The scientific revolution ties everything together. Now we're unified forever and ever.